everyone, today I'm going to walk you through this layout that I did for Mercy Tiara's 27-day challenge. I'm using this collection which is called Fairy Tales from Craft. I have a big pad with all of the papers in there, and then I've also got these sticker sheets from Bo Bunny which coordinate well. So I usually keep these all together. I've got this sheet of letters that I'm going to try and cut out to create my title, and I'm about to stencil on this mandala stencil from Kazaz using the Tim Holtz Distress Stain in Seedless Preserve. So I've just got a mini mister bottle that I've filled the stain filled with the stain, and I'm just spraying that on to create a bit more interest. Here are the two photos that I'm scrapbooking today. I've decided to cut them down into squares. I don't use a lot of layouts with two photos, or I don't create a lot of layouts with two photos because I struggle to use the 4x6, and that's generally how I print my photos for 12x12 layouts. So I decided if I cut them down in squares, I will still enjoy the background because it's a pretty paper. Obviously I don't want to cover too much of it up. So just starting to think about how I'm going to layer things now. I definitely want the doily in the background, and I really like this teal paper. It's just a scrap that's left over from another session of crafting, but I'm going to try and use it up. I'm a big fan of trying to use up pieces that have already been cut into. I generally go for one piece that will be the background, and then I'll go ahead and delve into my scraps. So just starting to play around with the layering on this now. And this is how I'll use my scraps, so I'll try and trim it down to a workable piece. I've got that corner missing there, but I don't mind because the idea is that I might cover that up anyway. I actually end up using this piece as a backing for a photo, so to create a mat for one of the photos. So just playing around now. I really like the look of having the photos when I've got multiples of just falling onto the page, so just playing around with how that might work in conjunction with that journaling box there. So I just wanted to also welcome some of my new subscribers. I've noticed that I've had a few extras recently, so welcome to my channel. I hope you're enjoying watching my videos, and feel free to go back through and have a look at some older ones, and I do have new content regularly, so if you don't have time to go back through old ones, there will be new ones on a regular basis. At least once a week I'm trying to post videos, if not a couple of times a week, but I've committed to making sure I post at least once a week at this stage. So just back on the challenge that I participate in most months. It's basically where, so it's a YouTube channel, and I'll include a link below if you're interested in joining and playing along with the challenge. There's one challenge per month. I don't think there's one for December. I haven't sort of been on YouTube looking at a lot of videos in the last couple of days, but it's been loads of fun playing along, so definitely check out her channel. She does some really great things. Tracy Banks is her name, and her YouTube channel is Mercy Tiara. And so this month's challenge was to use the colour purple, which I don't do very often, so I've sort of found this layout quite challenging, to scrapbook two photos again, which is something I don't do very often, to have the photos be about something crazy or silly or fun, and to add some dimension to the page as well. So you can see I did matte one photo, and I changed my mind and wanted to matte the other photo. And I must have matted the first photo not thinking too much, because I usually like to matte the photo that I like the most. And in this case I think I chose it to matte the other photo because the photo that I like the most is probably not the best shot as far as the blank space on one side is concerned. So I generally like to take photos where the object of the photo, so in this case my daughter, is in the middle of the photo, but for some reason I took this off to the side a little bit. But that was the photo that I really loved the most because she's got a big smile on her face and she looks like she's enjoying herself. So I decided that it was better to matte that photo, and I can kind of correct it by using embellishments later, which you'll see me do. The way that I layer it later will kind of help balance out the fact that she's actually off to the right hand side of that photo. So generally I will play around with the layers a little bit, get a rough idea of where I want things to go, and then I pull it all apart and stick it back down. I know that doesn't work for some people. Some people will either try and stick as they go, or they will take a photo of what they've done so that they can recreate it when they pull up all the layers to stick them down. I know I've watched some videos by Shamel, and she often will layer it all down and then just peel up corners and sort of stick it down that way. But yeah, I generally get a rough idea and then I pull it all up and try and recreate it without worrying too much about the details. And so now I'm turning to these sticker sheets from Bo Bunny, and I'm going to look at adding some interest to the background by using these swirly stickers, as though they're coming out from behind the photo. So the whole layout is about the fact that my daughter's really fun and whimsical and comes up with, you know, crazy things. You turn around, you're doing something quite serious, and all of a sudden she's got a fake moustache on behind you out of nowhere. So I thought that these swirls would be a good way to kind of portray the whimsy of this particular moment, and also of my daughter in general. And so I like the swirls, but they were too big as they were, so I tried to cut them apart a little bit. And you know, this is a great trick if you've got something that's a little bit too big. You know, you can just use elements of it, or if you've only got one of something and you want to cut it apart and use it in a few different areas. So I didn't really have an idea of where I wanted to embellish at this point. All I was doing was adding a little bit more interest to the layout. So this is definitely not the areas that I embellish, and I didn't want to kind of cluster embellishments over the top. This is more creating the background to those photos, I think, is how I treated this. You could definitely use the swirls as, you know, that's the key area that you'd like to embellish, but I didn't. I kind of just created it as the background and then worried about the embellishments after I'd got most of the layout where I wanted it to be. So here's another one that I'm cutting apart. These were a bit tricky because often when you use those kind of swirled patterns, they just swirl off in one direction and then the other. These actually went back on themselves, which meant that I had to try and be creative as how I cut them apart, because I didn't want them all in just one area. I did want them to be spread out across the layout. So definitely tucking them all behind the photos, and then I think this one sits just slightly over the top of the journaling box. Yeah, and just sort of trying to spread it out across the page, so it's almost like vines growing out from the page. So I did run out of battery there, and I had to wait until I charged, so I finished playing around with where I might want those swirls to go. And then I start thinking about the title. So originally I was going to do my title just from those letters on that 12 by 12 sheet that I've hacked into, but decided that I wanted to, the words I wanted to use weren't there. So I've used the purple stickers that are on that Bo Bunny sheet to say kinda, and I've cut out the letters crazy on the other side. And this is where I'm going to use a little bit of a trick to balance off that photo that I've matted by adding the word crazy down to the left hand side of that photo, so that it helps to feel like her face is actually in the middle of the photo, because of all of that blank space is being filled. Now you could do that with the title, you could do that with some journaling, you could do that with some embellishments. It's entirely up to you, but it's one way that you can help balance off the photo if your subject is not smack bang in the middle, to make it look like, you know, that blank space is there for a reason. I really don't like to see too much blank space in a photo, particularly if the subject is off-center. So this is another piece that I have already cut into from that Kaisercraft collection, and as I said, I do like to try and use up pieces that have already been cut into. I just have this barrier of cutting into a 12 by 12 sheet to do layering. I will do it if I can't find anything that's going to work, but I'd much prefer to use pieces that have already been cut into and keep the 12 by 12 sheets for a background, or you know, for a card making session where I want to make multiple cards in the same style, that kind of thing. And it's a good way of trying to use up your scraps as well and challenge yourself. So I've just used the Tim Holtz pink circle punch, which I would have to say is my favourite punch of all time. I use it so much on my layouts to just layer behind embellishments or create a bit of interest. I just think it's it's that circle element without being too girly, so it works on boy pages but also on girl pages. If you were to buy no other punch, I would suggest you buy a pink circle punch. That would be the ultimate. I know they used to sell the Nestabilities pink circle dies, but they haven't been in production for a while. I would love to get my hands on a set because then you'd have the various sizes, but I haven't been able to find them. So if you do come across somewhere that I can buy them online or something, please do leave a comment below and a link if you can find it to the place where I can purchase them, because I definitely think it would be worth it. Yeah, I definitely use it all the time on my layouts. So it's just going to be a background, and I'm going to work on adding more things there. But at the moment I'm looking at some chipboard stickers, and these are one of my favourite chipboard stickers, so much so that I bought like 4 packets of them, but I got them for like $1 or $1.50 or something at the reject shop, and they have some lovely elements on there that work really well. So they have the purples and the greens and some silver, but they also have a little bit of pink on those stickers, so I thought that that would work well with this particular layout. So I've just grabbed a banner from there that's silver around the outside, and I've just added some baker's twine, so it's a white and silver baker's twine at the top because there's some punched holes there, just to create that little bit more dimension. And then just playing around with the other areas of embellishment. So I decided I'm going to, mainly that flower there is going to be the embellishment for that particular area, and then I'm going to embellish down the bottom right hand side a little bit more heavily. So it starts, you know, quite soft at the top left, drawing your eye down to the photos and what's going on there, and then right down to the bottom right hand side, which is kind of naturally where our eye goes anyway. So it was really fun doing this layout. I've really enjoyed doing the challenges every month because it makes you do things that you normally wouldn't do. As I said, scrapbooking with purple and you know, the 2 photos and those kind of things really challenged me to do something outside of my comfort zone. And as soon as they said they're crazy photos or, you know, fun or that sort of thing, these photos really stood out to me. I already had them printed to scrapbook, so it kind of inspired me to go, right, it's time to scrapbook those photos. And there is a small prize associated with the challenge every month, and if you win, then you actually get to choose what the prompts are going to be for the following month's challenges or challenge. So it's interesting because you know, if you do win, you get to choose the prompts. If you've been struggling to scrapbook boy layouts, or you've got particular photos that you're struggling to scrapbook, or you know, you've got some products that you really want to use but you're uninspired to use them, then the prompts are there for you to actually see what other people do and then kind of inspire you to get working on those things. And look, there is a Facebook group involved in that as well, where you can share ideas and information, where people post their layouts for the challenge. So definitely check that out as well, because you can ask questions there. If you don't win the challenge, you can still, you know, ask people in the group what you know, how they're inspired by certain products and things like that. So it's been loads of fun being involved in that. Unfortunately, I haven't won, but you know, I'm really enjoying doing the challenges and really pushing myself to do things outside of my comfort zone. So I just play around with some layering. I think I add another pink circle there. I'm trying to add some twine to a button here that I'm going to include, and some extra chipboards. I also finish off the layout using some enamel dots as well, and you'll definitely see some still shots at the end when I'm done. So almost at the end. I hope you've enjoyed watching this process video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have any questions for me, feel free to comment below, and I do respond to any questions that around the products I've used or anything like that. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Please do subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more of my videos, and yeah, I will definitely catch you in the next video and look forward to sharing my creative processes with you again soon. Thanks for watching.